presentation. The fine people at Archive asked me to come and talk about great ads, which is fantastic because I love talking about ads. And when I started in advertising in about 1904, I remember reading Archive magazine and just loving all the work and being really inspired by it. It's incredible to see that it's going so strong. And so what I'm going to do, basically they asked me a bunch of things and they said, we want you to talk about the kind of ads you like. They asked me to choose some ads from the latest Archive to say nice things about. And I guess they also sort of said to me, how do you start when it comes to writing good print ads? So basically I have a simple equation. So what I do, generally speaking, is I start with an A3 layout pad. And I think most people in the room know that lovely feeling when you've got a nice new A3 layout pad and you just rip the front of it off. And I usually tear the top off and I get a Sharpie, and it has to be a new Sharpie, and then I just start. And usually, and I don't know if it's the same for you, Sergio, but I need to get through about 3 pads before I feel like I've actually got something really, really good. I get through a lot of paper, which is probably not a cool thing to say these days, but I do. So that's one part of the equation, which is lots and lots of paper. And then the other thing is fear. There's nobody who's ever written, I think, a great ad really without some form of kind of fear around that. Now the fear is about underachieving. The fear is also about, what am I going to do? What am I going to think of? And how can I do an ad that's better than the last ad I wrote? For me, I'm only as good as my last ad, and I think any creative person should feel that way. Fear is really important. And the other thing is a deadline. I kind of, for me, I don't think I leave things till the very, very last minute. In fact, I'm actually meant to be writing some ads tonight, which I was meant to have written before I went to Cannes. And that's really stupid because I'm going to go and drink. So who knows what will happen. And then the other thing, those are the 3 things, like lots of paper, lots of fear, and a deadline. But then the other thing for me is, when you've got all of those things happening, sometimes you get that horrible freeze, don't you? And you go, Christ, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then what you do is you look out of the window and you get distracted by something, and then something pops in your head. And last Friday in London, where I work, 1,000 people naked rode down the road on bicycles to complain about the fact that there's not enough room for people on bikes, because everyone's being encouraged to ride bikes in London, but there's nowhere for them to actually ride the bikes. So there were 1,000 naked people riding past my office, which was awesome. And actually, I think a lot of people were quite inspired at that moment. Some of them might have been slightly turned on as well. And then, bang, boom, you have an idea. And you have an idea. I think what I love about the business that we're in is that when you do have a great idea, you want to show it to everybody. You get that amazing sense of glee. And you have to rush around and you have to show it to people. Some of the best people I've worked with, when they come up with a great idea, they show it to everyone from the cleaner, to their mums, and that's the worst thing about advertising people, is that we're colossal bores, because most people don't really want to see our great ideas, but it won't stop us from showing them. So some of the things you asked me, the question was, what are some of the golden rules, if you like? Well, for me, a big one, and I get really angry if I see my team. So I've got 25 teams in my office. If I see any of them looking at award annuals, I get angry. So the first thing is, I think you should burn your award annuals. I think when you look at them, log them, but don't actually go back to them time and time again. You will get no inspiration. That's history. What you do is you're actually making history. You're not actually just going back into history and just rehashing. That is the problem with our industry, I think, is that we're colossally, we self-reference stuff too much. So you burn the award annual. Read the brief, and then you can burn the brief as well. I think, a lot of people, it doesn't matter how good the brief is. The brief is just a springboard, okay? But just burn the brief. Read it, burn it. Don't keep coming back to it, because the answer's not in the brief, it's in your head. And then get out of the office. We've got an open plan office. I don't think anybody ever came up with their best ideas in the office. So if you can't get out of the office, set fire to the fucking office and get out of the office. You have to work out of the office. People don't come up with their best work at work, ironically. So inspiration and its myriad forms. I mean, for me, and this is a personal thing, I do find going to see films really, really incredibly stimulating. I guess they are popular culture, they reflect popular culture, but also I think there's so many things within films where you have little ideas, little moments that you go, wow, that's a really interesting kind of outlook on life, that's a really nice kind of insight into human behaviour, and I think we just need to see lots more films. I also, all my creatives are members of the Tate, so we go to all of the exhibitions. So this is the Damien Hirst one that's on there, it's been on in London. Actually, I don't recommend you go to that because I think he's a charlatan, but anyway, that's another conversation. But go and see exhibitions and read. You know, like we have book clubs as well, all copywriters. I mean, you know, I was listening to Amir today, and I'm sure you guys were, and it was really inspirational, but when he talked about the fact that we don't have copywriters and art directors, I think it's really important that we retain craft in our industry. I think we all need to be generalists. I think that's really important. I think we all need to do things across all channels, and I think we need to think in very broad, lateral ways. But if you lose the art of craft, you lose an awful lot. You know, for me as a copywriter, I love words. And then, of course, the thing that works for me a lot are some rather more random things. I like to, this is a strange thing, but anyway, I think go into a park and just lie down and look at the sky. You know, like we've got this amazing canvas above us, and I think a lot of people kind of find that quite easy to do in Cannes. By the beach, but I think you should try it wherever you live. And you can see amazing things in the sky. Like that. And then I think the other thing for me is just walking. Just walk. Because when you walk, you know, there's somebody told me that 5% of your brain is 5 extra percent of your IQ is stimulated by exercise. So just walk. I come up with most of my ideas in bed. I dream my ads, you know, which is deeply tragic again, but you know, that's just the way it is. And when you think about dreams are very deeply personal and also massively fragmented. You have no boundaries within dreams. People dream in the most extraordinary fashion. You jump all over the place. Sometimes, you know, you can come up with a great thought in your dreams. Actually, not that often, but it's worth thinking about. I always write things down. I write my dreams down. My wife's a shrink, so she teaches me to do that anyway. I also come up with great ideas in the shower. Most of them have been done before, as you can tell. And the bath. I'm an Englishman, so English people love baths, you know, and I think, you know, and there's a fallacy that we don't actually wash, but that's not true. We actually love to soak in baths. So yeah, that's me. And then I guess what I was going to talk about was some of the work that I've done. This is something that I wrote when I started in the business, and this is about 15 years old, and I worked with another copywriter, and we had this huge opportunity where this wonderful magazine in New Zealand where I lived, this magazine called New Zealand Skier, they approached us and they said, we're not great journalists, but we're amazing skiers, and you will see some amazing photography in this magazine, but we're just sorry about all the typos. And you know, for us, it's actually all about the pictures and it's all about the experience. So that I loved their honesty, you know, and then we came up with this thought that actually it would be really funny if the ideas were all about basically these beautiful pictures, but it was about the fact that they're actually pretty terrible journalists. So I kind of wrote a bunch of headlines with my partner Paul, and it took us I wrote 800 lines. We had a kind of write-off at the end to write the end line. You know, sometimes it's really hard in our business when you come up with an end line. Sometimes you come up with a punchline first before you can come up with a joke. So we couldn't crack the line at the end, and in the end I wrote, we ski, we ride, mostly we ski, and that did it. So one of the headlines there says, fear is not in our vogue is not a word we use. The typing's not great, but it's difficult with gloves on. This is the days of headlines, guys. I mean, you know, God, it's all changed now. The photography will leave you breathless, the grammar's pretty shocking too. A picture's worth 1,000 words, we use a lot of pictures. Here's something I did more recently when I was at DDB, and it was kind of last year, and it was a fantastic brief. The brief was essentially that for Sky TV, and it was for iSky or MySky, or I mean, it's called different things in different parts of the world, but essentially it's where you basically have a box and you can record everything you want. And the problem with Sky was that their sales had kind of plateaued, and the issue that they had was that women, who are largely the gatekeepers when it comes to the monthly finances, are saying, we're not spending that extra money because all you ever do is watch TV to their husbands. They're basically, what you do is you just watch lots of sport, and the whole point of MySky, of course, is that you can record what you like and watch it when it's convenient. So we just had this thought. It's very simple. I hope it's not too loud. Oh no, it's gone. I got it. That one.
60 things in 60 seconds your husband could do instead of watching TV. Cook, clean, massage feet, your feet, picnic, bullfight, chop wood, put a top on, run, jog, walk, shave, help with homework, shave, Sudoku, shave, mow, declare his love, spoon, Greco-Roman wrestle, draw a bath, that, pick flowers, unclog the sink, wash the dog, wash the cat, brush his teeth, brush your hair, braid it, knit, shop with you, shop for you, feed the pets, answer the door, answer your kids' questions, read to them, something age appropriate, take the bins out, take you out, chaperone, hike, dress in camouflage, play games, charades, make hors d'oeuvres, learn French, visit friends, travel, get a checkup, sing, play guitar, make wine, visit the zoo, visit his half-brother, grow a veggie patch, cover his ball patch, make tea, because now his favourite TV can wait. MySky, TV on your terms.
So that was fun. And going back to what I was saying about being a writer, for me, I loved the writing in that. That was the best part. This campaign we did last year, this was an interesting brief. We had a wonderful client at Sky TV, and he had a great sense of humour, and he said to me, sorry, I'm talking this, that's better. He said to me, Toby, I want you to advertise Alien vs Predator. It's possibly one of the worst films ever made. And I said, oh, do you mind if we take the piss out of the film? And he said, yeah, go for your life. But we need to kind of get these kind of slightly kind of B movies. People need to watch them. It was, the great thing is that we had about 6 weeks to do this. We did all of this in 3D. It's really dumb, actually, but it made me laugh. So chess, swing ball, and my favourite, pool. As part of my brief, I was asked to talk about some of my favourite work in Volume 3. Having been in London over the whole Jubilee celebrations, I'm not exactly a royalist. I've been living in New Zealand for 15 years. I tried to get as far away from the royal family as I could, and now I'm back amongst it. So I'm kind of heartily sick of the Queen doing this. That's all she ever does. Sometimes she does that. Mostly it's that. So and there are all these commemorative plates, and maybe I'm just a bar humbug, whatever. But I'm just a bit over it. And then I remember seeing this in the newspaper on the weekend of the Golden Jubilee. The country had not 1 but 2 days off, so it was a bank holiday Monday, and then the Queen, bless her, gave everyone an extra day off because it was her 60th, and that was in the paper. And it's just like it kind of takes the mickey out of those commemorative plates, and it's very on brand. I don't know if you know the Peter Kay work for John Smith's beautiful work out of I think it's TBWA in London. They just established that no-nonsense Yorkshire bitter kind of attitude to life, and that's something that Peter Kay himself, who's in the ads, could have actually drawn. I can just imagine him, although he probably can't draw as well as that, doing that as a paper plate. I think the other thing that I found really interesting going through the archive was actually going around the back, toward the back of archive, and then just looking at some of the work in that kind of TV visual kind of format section. And one thing in particular I just loved, and I don't know if everyone's seen Prometheus yet, but the marketing mix for Prometheus, I'm sure, is going to do incredibly well probably next year at Cannes. But I mean, I think, I don't know if anyone's seen the TED Talk who's the guy? What's from Wenham Industries? You know, like it's basically a genius piece of marketing around the idea of Prometheus. And this is one of the central characters. David is a robot played by Michael Fassbender, and this is almost like it's called Happy Birthday David. And this is again part of the marketing mix for the movie itself. And instead of what they usually do, which is they'll you know, it's like you see a little bit of the film and you go, well, that looks pretty epic, and then about 2 weeks before the film launches, they extend it, and you see even more of the movie. Well, they turned the whole thing on its head, which I think is wonderful, and this went out into the, in terms of the marketing at least. They still did the film trailers, but they did things like the TED Talk. They did this, which is a, you know, if you're thinking of buying a robot, this is what you'd see for David.
What is it about robots that makes them so robotic? At Wayland Industries, it has long been our goal to create artificial intelligence almost indistinguishable from mankind itself. Hello, I'm David.
What can you do, David?
I can do almost anything that could possibly be asked of me. I can assist your employees. I can make your organization more efficient. I can carry out directives that my human counterparts might find distressing or unethical. I can blend in with your workforce effortlessly.
David, what do you think about?
I think about anything. Children playing, angels, the universe, robots.
David, what makes you sad?
War, poverty, cruelty, unnecessary violence. I understand human emotions, although I do not feel them myself. This allows me to be more efficient and capable, and makes it easier for my human counterparts to interact.
Is there anything you would like to say, David?
I would like to express gratitude to those who created me. Happy birthday, David. From Wayland Industries. Eighth generation Wayland type. Technological, intellectual, physical, emotional.
Pretty cool, isn't it? As well as traditional teasers and trailers, the campaign includes a detailed Wayland Industries website featuring a Bible-like company history from 1990 to 2073. Luke Scott directed film of a mock TED Talk, which is what I was talking about, with Guy Pearce playing Peter Wayland, a much younger Peter Wayland than you see in the film. I mean, that's the genius thing about the whole concept for me, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the film yet, but it is essentially a prequel to Alien. That's all I'm going to say, but it's bloody good. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was I've just been, living in New Zealand and basically working across Asia Pacific, and one of the things I've really missed in the 6 months I've been back in London is Australian humour, because it's actually supremely crass, but it's actually really, really funny. And I think when you look at, and I don't know if anyone's been looking at all the TV work that's been playing down, but generally speaking, if you find Australian beer ads, they're just head and shoulders funnier than anybody else's, I find. They get humour. Carlton in particular, over the years, it's probably one of the most awarded campaigns. The big ad, this is some print for Carlton Mid, and it's just everything about it, I think, is just perfect. And you could argue it's a bit sexist, It's a lot sexist, but you know, in a sense, it's got that kind of brazenness to it that makes it so perfect. What's the strategy? I guess you could say, I don't know, without looking at the brief, which I would have burned anyway. It probably is one of those beers that you can take a little bit more time to enjoy, maybe. So you see that very boring, rational brief, and then somebody's gone, you know what? Why do guys want to do that? Why do guys want to have a beer that takes a little bit longer to enjoy, so that they can spend a little less time away from the wife who has no taste in sweaters? I don't know. But spending too much time with the wife, stay a little longer. And the next one I think is also kind of splendid. I just love it. And you do actually see people like that, don't you, sometimes? Largely in Australia. And I think that's me, really. Thank you.